Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back once again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously, as Henry trains for his gym battle against Nessa, Chairman Rose and his secretary Oleana meet up and encourage the young boy and his endeavors. Very impressed by him. Well, Rose is. Both Henry and Casey do manage to overcome Nessa, but despite being at a disadvantage because of Henry's previous battle where he knocked around Nessa's Pokemon pretty badly, even though they were healed, they were still kind of dazed, giving Casey the opening she needed in order to take Nessa down. But while Casey was battling, Henry, alongside Sonia, were invited by Chairman Rose during a dinner to investigate and study the Hammerlock Vault, a place that is of great interest to Sonia in her studies into the darkest day. After Casey's battle against Nessa, she's interviewed on TV, where she's able to put out the call about her missing Pokemon. And as they're traveling to their next destination, Hop runs up on them, saying that he might have actually found one of Casey's Pokemon, Kilo, the Barracuda, or the Arracuda, I should say. But during the stop, Bade challenges Henry to a battle, mostly because he's incensed about Henry getting a little too chummy with Chairman Rose. And though Bade comes off a little too strong, Henry still feels that Bade, though a bit aggressive, has a good heart deep down, especially because his Galarian Ponyta is good at sensing, well, the good in others. While Bade might see Henry as a rival, seems that Henry sees Bade as something a little bit more. What does it all mean? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, first up, we start with Chapter 11, titled Gulp Pokemon. Okay then. We pick up with Casey and Hop coming upon a small lake where an Arracuda is being, well, gulped down by a Cramorant. Casey shouts, "Ah, that Arracuda is Kilo!" So hard to get the accent down. The Hop says, "Are you're sure?" Casey says, "See how it's moving its tail fin? It's got a habit of flipping it left and right, that's stopping as if it's lost in thought." Hop says, "You're right. It always stops for a second in the middle of the third flap." I'll take your word for it since I'm looking at it in a manga. Oh God. And then the Cramorant downs the Arracuda. Casey freaks out, shaking. Hop saying, "It got swallowed. We've got to get it to spit it Kilo out. Raboot, help." But Hop says, wait. Cramorant is a water and flying type. Raboot is at a disadvantage. It's known as the Gulp Pokemon. It's got a huge appetite, and it'll swallow just about any food it can find conveniently nearby. And Casey notes, "You sure know a lot, Hop. You're like a human Pokedex." Yeah, despite Hop not being a Pokedex holder here, even though he should be, Hop blushes, saying, "I learned a lot from the books on Pokemon that my brother left. I've read through them all. We can't let it get away with Kilo still inside of it. We need a Pokemon that'll unthinkingly try to swallow but also has a type advantage." Okay, we see several of its Pokemon, one of which includes... Oh no, I don't have that Pokemon in my favorites list. Okay, never mind. Moving on. And then he sends out saying, "Come on out, Pinch Urchin." And so his Pinch Urchin kind of waddles on the shore of the lake in front of Cramorant, and Cramorant goes for it. Hop says, "Here it comes!" And as Cramorant chomps down on Pinch Urchin, I think that's how you pronounce it, Pinch Urchin immediately shocks it. Forgot it was an electric type. I didn't really get that one, or I think I did get it, but I didn't really use it that much. Hop says, "How about that zip and zing-zap?" Casey shouts, "It flinched! Zap zilch worked, Hop." But Hop says, "It's zing-zap." But I thought Cramorant would spit Kilo out after being shocked. Cramorant kind of pauses and then recoils from Pinch Urchin. But Cramorant then dives for it, chomping down, being zapped again. It recoils, pauses, and then goes for it again. And Hop questioning, "How many times are you going to try that?" Does this thing just never learn? But Casey brings out her Pokedex saying, Hop, look up! Hop reads the Pokedex entry on camera saying, it's so strong that it can knock out some opponents in a single hit, but it also may forget what it's battling mid-fight. Oh, really? Hop reads, it's powerful but forgetful. I didn't know that. I know. Casey, you've used your Vikavolt drone and other stuff to help guide Henry through battles before, right? Casey says, huh? How do you know that? Hop blushes a little, saying, sorry, but could you do the same for me just this once? I want you to look for a way to get Kilo out of there. I'll buy time until then. Casey says, sure thing. I'll look into Cramorant more then. Hop says, thanks. Suggestion. Try not to come into contact with Cramorant. You zing zap, but don't make it faint, and then maintain just enough distance to keep it interested in you so it doesn't run away. Meanwhile, Casey's looking through her Pokedex and jotting things down, saying, let's see. But then something catches, as she looks at Cramorant, she thinks to herself, Kilo, this one must have been scary, huh? You're scared, aren't you? Hang in there. And then she has memories of when she first got her Arrokuda. Saying, I'll name you Kilo. Oh, your tail fin stopped again. Funny habit. So your ability is called Propeller Tail, huh? No. I need to concentrate right now. Ability. She reads an ability called Gulp Missile. Now, Cramorant's ability is Gulp Missile. What does that do? That's it. Come out, Raboot. She sends Raboot into battle, much to the shock of Hop. Hop says, wait, it's got a type disadvantage. But Casey says, I know. Hop, you have a Snorlax, right? Bring it out. Hop says, huh? Casey says, you wanted me to guide you, right? Believe in me. Believe in the wee lass. Does Hop have a crush on Casey? And he's blushing up a storm. And he says, oh, all right. And he brings out his Snorlax. Casey says, to Snorlax? Okay, stand behind Raboot. And she commands Raboot to use double kick. Raboot attacks Cramorant. But Hop knows, it's not working. But Casey says, it's fine. Our goal isn't to damage it. We need to switch who it sees as its opponent. So, as Raboot kind of goads Cramorant a little, saying, come on! In a little wave of his hand, Cramorant gets ready to fire his Gulp Missile, shooting out Arrokuda. I would never have thought this would be a plot point. But Casey commands, Raboot, dodge! And Raboot does just that, diving backwards Matrix style as Arrokuda bounces right off of Snorlax. And Snorlax catches Arrokuda as it recoils off of its stomach. Casey shouts, Kilo! And Arrokuda joyfully jumps into Casey's hands. As she says, I knew it was you. Hop then says, it's still too soon to celebrate you. Casey as, oh no. It got a Pikachu. They even put in the Pikachu and it gulps it down. Because it has two different forms, the gulping form and gorging form. That's so silly. Somehow we still managed to work Pikachu in there. Just randomly got a Pikachu. Hop shouts, that thing had a Pikachu in it too. Casey calls out, one more shot, Raboot. And Raboot kicks Cramorant. Cramorant gets pissed, fires the Pikachu, and bounds off of Snorlax. That's poor Pikachu. That poor Pikachu. It's just a random Pikachu. I can't get over that. What a silly Pokemon. Now Hop says, alright, Princess, you Spark. No time to wait. Oh, and Hop throws the Pokeball at the Cramorant and catches it. Oh, I didn't think we'd see him catch a Pokemon. Oh, that brings his total up to 5. And Hop says, alright, now I've got my 5th team member. Casey says, so you were in this one to catch a Cramorant? Hop says, of course. Our next opponent is Kabu, after all. He's a fire-type expert. I love how even Casey being silent with the ... is still in shout word bubbles. But holding her Arrokuda, Casey gives a bow, saying, thank you, Hop. With your help, I was able to reunite with Kilo. I'm grateful. Hop blushes, saying, don't be silly. But Casey says, looks like I owe you one to both you and your brother. Did Hop kind of realized that she does, because he's kind of been leaving out who his brother is. And Hop says, oh, Casey says, Mr. Leon, he's your brother, right? And Hop says, when did you figure it out? Casey says, I thought you two looked alike from the second I met you. And earlier, too. You knew about the time Henry and I helped Mr. Leon, so I knew you two had to at least be related. Hop says, so that's why you agreed to help me. Casey says, that's why you let me know when you found Kilo, right? Them just realizing that a lot of their interactions have been very specific for specific reasons. Or is there more to why Hop helped there? Does he actually have a crush? I'm thinking maybe he does. Because he says, yeah, that's it. Like, no, I think he's got a little thing for her, and I kind of like it. Casey heads off saying, see ya, I've got to get back to the SS Magnolia. It's called the SS Magnolia. I hope it doesn't sink like a lot of ships in the series. As Hop calls out, okay, see you. And Hop watches her go off, saying to himself, Casey Shield. She's honest, a quick thinker, and cute. She's a little boisterous, though. And then Bob notices that the Pikachu that was fired off earlier is smiling at him with a cheeky grin. And he says, hey, don't get eaten again, okay? See ya. So like, yeah, that Pikachu's like, you got a crush there, buddy. Oh, you should catch the Pikachu, man. You get main character points for having a Pikachu. Oh, Kabu! No snap! One of the most notable things about Kabu is he has one of my favorite Pokemon, Scorch. A great deal of why I like the Pokemon is because of Kabu. I really like Kabu. Kabu, my boy! Kabu, my boy! And we pick up with Casey in a battle against Kabu as he commands, Gigantamax! Scorch! And his Scorch grows to epic proportions. The arena announcer says, there it is, Kobo, the Motorstoke Stadium gym leaders Gigantamax as the challengers Marnie, Henry, and Bade. This makes his fourth match of the day. Oh, so everybody's already gone through. It's interesting to finally get a moment where Casey is the one we focus on, even though she's the last one to go. He really shows no fatigue or decline. He's not known as Challenger's first real obstacle for nothing. That's kind of mean. At the very least, Nessa. What was his name? Because Milo is kind of a bit of a pushover. He's probably a little too soft for his own good, but Nessa, like, dang, Nessa's cool. Rude. His opponent is Challenger Casey Shield. What will she do? And Casey decides to Gigantamax as well, bringing back her Pokemon saying, I can size up too! And she throws her Pokeball, bringing out a Gigantamax Arrokuda! Or Dynamax Arrokuda. Yeah, because Scorch has its Gigantamax form. Challenger Casey has Dynamax Arrokuda! This Arrokuda is Kilo, who'd formerly been missing. It seems that thanks to information shared after Challenger Casey's call for help at Hillberry Stadium, the two of them were able to reunite today. And she's wiping a little tear. Aww. Yeah, definitely a relative of Chertaro. I wouldn't be surprised if I find out that's a relative of Chertaro. Oh, I completely forgot about you, dude. Marvin. Yeah, there we go, Marvin. It's been a hot minute. Marvin says, Casey's got a type advantage this time. She might be able to win without issue today. Come to think of it, Henry hasn't come back since he got that phone call a little while ago. Suddenly, speaking to the devil, Henry's calling. Marvin answers, did something happen, Henry? Henry says, well, you see, Sonia told me that today's the only day we can check out the vault at Hammerlock. I'm rushing through the wild area now. Marvin says, I see. Wait, how are you traveling? By taxi? Henry says, oh no. Right after I left the stadium, I helped someone who was in trouble with Team Yell. As thanks, they gave me a Rotom bike. Oh yeah, the Rotom bike. I forgot about that. God, going all over the place on the Rotom bike. Not to mention it has the, different capabilities where it can go in water and stuff like that, which is actually kind of cool. Although, between the Rotom bike and the ride Pokemon and stuff like that, I feel like the idea of having, like, even when it came to Scarlet and Violet, even though I haven't played it, ride Pokemon, it's just like, oh, the specific Pokemon that you ride on there, it's just like, I feel like they haven't got like a good balance for how that all should work. Because it's just like, no, you should have Pokemon that you fly with, Pokemon that you ride on, or you have the option of having like a bike or something. Like, I know that'd probably be a lot to program in, but it's just kind of a bummer that you're so locked to so specific things that you can't kind of do your own thing. You know, I know that we don't really want to go back to the days of having HM slaves anymore. Pokemon you specifically have to use because they know certain abilities like fly or surf or stuff like that. But it is kind of a bummer to me that at least make it so that water Pokemon can do this, or Pokemon that fly or hover can do this, or, you know, Pokemon that travel across land can do this. I would love a Pokemon game that gives you the freedom to just travel your own specific kind of way, just like in the anime and stuff, or even in some of the manga, or specific people. Like, even when it came to Green or Blue, however you want to say her name, where she'd fly around on her Jigglypuff because it was inflated. I mean, I'm not saying go as far as like when she would fly around on her freaking Blastoise jetpack or anything like that. But I don't know, something kind of like that. A little bit more of the freedom. But Henry says, has Casey won yet? Marvin says, she just Dynamax Kilo and then he looks around and he's just like, yeah, and Kabu's down. She says, she won! Casey won! Yeah, she's kind of back in her game now that she has one of her Pokemon back. Which, I feel a little bad for Kabu because he's such an afterthought here. The announcer says, that's Challenger Casey's victory! Oh, it's Raihan. So Raihan, I guess, keeping tabs on all this. As he, I guess, says to himself, sir, the 2 trainers Leon recommended have won. My senses haven't failed me yet. If Leon's little brother wins, then all 5 of the trainers I've marked have made it past Kabu. Say, as gym leader of Hamlock Stadium, how many do you think will be able to get to me? Tell me, Duraludon and Duraludon. Oh no, it's not Duraludon I have in my favorites. It's something different. I'll bring that up at a later time when I get to that point. Okay, Raihan's at the ready. Alright, the next chapter we step into is chapter 12, Thump, the Gazing Sage. Okay then. And we got Raihan hanging out with Henry and Sonia. Oh yeah, because they're headed to Hammerlock. But we pick up at Mudstoke Stadium, where the announcer says, it's Challenger Hop's victory! And as Hop heads out, he meets with Casey, who runs up saying, with Marvin saying, congrats, Hop! Hop says, huh? Casey, you still haven't left for Stone on side yet? But Casey says, I wanted to see how you'd battled with the Cormorant that swallowed Kilo. Hop said, you did great out there. As Casey says, don't forget, we may have to face each other someday. But Milo, Kabu, and Nessa all approach the trio, as Kabu says, we'd like a word with you too. Congratulations, Challenger Challenger Casey, Challenger Hop. Casey says, Kabu. Hop says, Milo and Nessa too. Milo says, the reason people call Kabu the gym challenger's first real obstacle is because this is the point where most challengers end up giving up. Oh, really? Dang. Hop says, I know. It isn't possible to keep battling gym leaders and defeating them within a set period of time just by being good at battling. Casey says, true. Kabu says, that's why, as much as my schedule allows, I do my best to see off the trainers who manage to defeat me. Oh yeah, I do remember this in the game. It was specifically Kabu, though, and that was like as you were leaving. He runs up with his little trading look. Casey and Hop give a bow saying thank you. But then Kabu shouts, I dedicate this cheer to Casey and Hop's victory. Hustle, Casey. You can do it. Get him, Hop. Everyone in the surrounding area is taken aback by it. Casey, you have no right to be taken aback by all that shouting. The gym leaders you'll face in the future are all powerful trainers, but I believe that you two can defeat them. Believe in your Pokemon and keep moving forward. Casey and Hop say, thank you. Still a little bit dazed. We then cut to the outside of Motorstock as Hop waves goodbye as everyone else travels away in Magnolia's RV. In their little meeting room, Casey says, Kabu had a pretty booming voice for an old man. Marvin says, he looks calm and cool on the outside, but he gets super frustrated when he loses. He's actually a pretty passionate guy, isn't he? Magnolia notes, you can't become a gym leader if you don't at least have enough competitive spirit in you to make it through the Challenger Cup. No matter what sort of insults people might throw at you, you have to reject them. Sometimes you even have to work to fool yourself. If that child could as well. Marvin hears this and kind of like, huh? But it's interrupted as Casey waves over at Marvin saying, Marvin, come look! See that big tower in the distance? That's Hammerlock Stadium. The underground energy plant absorbs Galar particles from the tower and converts it into Galar's energy. It's part of Chairman Rose's macrocosmos work. Isn't that great, Professor? Professor Magnolia says, indeed. Marvin says, do you think Henry's made it there yet? And sure enough, we see Henry making it right there. The Hammerlock gym. Well, he's going for the vault specifically. As he rides on his bike, he says, phew. Looks like he managed to make it in time for the vault investigation. Come on out, everyone. And he brings out his, Surfetched. Oh, God, it's just the leak. Surfetched. There you go, right over there. His thwacky and his girder. He's got them all kind of looking around as he says, talk about an interest. It's got such an intimidating energy about it. I'm almost hesitant to go in. Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, even when the game, it's just like, man, such an intense looking place. But then you meet Raihan and he's just so laid back. Speaking of which, a voice calls out, you got it spot on. These ramparts were originally built in the Middle Ages to protect the city from foreign enemies, you know? We'd have problems if people came in just like that. I've been waiting for you for the gym challenger Leon endorsed. Henry Sword. Welcome to Hammerlock. I can never get over. See, Raihan with the puffy jacket is so cool, and then I see his shorts, and I'm like, look, man, shorts that go above the knee always just kind of do not gel with me a lot of times, especially if you're wearing long sleeves and shorts. Just, ugh. Henry sees him and pauses, and then says, pardon me, but you are... And Raihan says, I'm Raihan, the city's gym leader. Henry gives a bow, saying, forgive my impertinence. And Raihan just says, you're just like I've heard. You don't have any interest in or knowledge about the gym challenge. You're not the only one. Children like you are the ones who make things interesting. Henry questions, you've heard about me? Raihan says, you see, I make sure to do my homework on the trainers who I'll be fighting. Of course, I know you beat Milo, Nessa, and Kabu. I also know that you're some sort of gear craftsman and you're here to investigate the vault. Now fight me. How did we segue into that? Henry backs away saying, huh? What? Raihan shouts, which one's your frontliner? Is it Lancelot? Twiggy? Steeler? Yeah, Steeler. And Henry does, you know their nicknames too? Raihan says, if you won't take the first shot, then I will. Sandaconda. You use Sandstorm. Dude. I mean, I get it. You locked eyes, Pokemon battle, but to immediately be fighting like, Raihan, calm it down a little, buddy. Henry calls out, there isn't much time until the vault inspection ends. And Raihan says that you better defeat me quickly, huh? Henry just sighs, saying, good grief. Are all the people involved with the gym challenge like this? Oh yeah, because of Bade. So he sends in Lancelot. Lancelot manages to defend against Sandaconda's onslaught. Raihan saying, so it's dodging the sand with its shield. No, it's deflecting it. That's the power of a tempered gear, huh? But if your approach is careless, he has Sandaconda use Skull Bash. But Henry tells Lancelot, Surfetch, to dodge and use Leaf Blade. But, as Surfetch goes for the swing, Raihan says, you're open. and has Sanakana use Slam, knocking back Sir Fetch. Sir Fetch hits the ground hard, and then Raihan says, "There, and cut. That's some nice frames." Henry is taken aback. Well, Raihan says, "All right, I'll take you to the vault. What are you standing around for? Time's just about up. Get a move on." As Henry follows, he says, "What was that all about? What was that battle about just now?" Raihan says, "Leon and I have both got special features in next month's Pokemon Journal. We both had interviews and photo shoots, but they showed me Leon's page since it got finished first. Just look at it. All of the photos of him doing his Charizard pose. I get that the guy can be a klutz, but where's the fan service? So I had them do this with mine. There's definitely a lot of variety, right?" I mean, there is a lot of variety, but even him waking out of bed, freaking shirtless Raihan, as Henry looks through, he says, "I see you also have photos from Pokemon battle." Raihan says, "Yeah, from that exhibition match we had. Those are no good." Henry questions, "And why is that?" Raihan says, "There's no way I'm letting use photos from a match I lost." Henry says, "I see. So you decide to fight someone you definitely beat so you could use the pictures from the match instead." Raihan says, "Don't have to put it like that. You can't get good battle photos if your opponent's a total wimp, you know. And FYI, you're the challenger I've been looking out for the most. It wouldn't hurt you any to feel honored, but I'm the 8th, so you've got to beat 4 more gym leaders before we can battle for real. Don't make my research on you go to waste, kid." And as he puts a hand around Henry, he says, "Here we are. This is the vault." As they enter, Henry questions, "Where's Sonia?" Raihan says, She was excited enough to squeal, so I was under the impression she'd made some big discovery." Suddenly they hear a shriek. Raihan turns to Henry, saying, "That's a different kind of squealing from the kind I heard earlier." Henry says it sounded like it was coming from outside too. And as they make their way outside, they see Sonia being chased by a Oranguru. Okay, I wonder why. Raihan says, why is she getting chased by an Oranguru?" Sonia turns, saying, "Raihan, Henry, help!" Raihan calls out, "Sonia, you were a gym challenger, weren't you? Can't you do something about it yourself?" But Henry says, "Actually, Sonia's Yamper is chasing her around too." Wait, what? Wait, why is her Yamper chasing her too? Raihan calls out, "Is it confused?" Sonia says, "I don't know. It just popped out of its ball and started acting up." Oranguru, though, manages to grab onto Sonia, lifting her into the air. And as she screams, Henry brings out his Sir Fetch, saying, "Lancelot, that's Sonia." But as soon as Sir Fetch makes eye contact with Oranguru, he turns on Henry. It's only thanks to Girder that Henry isn't hit, as he blocks Sir Fetch's hit. And even his Thwacky is acting out too. Raihan says, "Your Lancelot's acting weird. Then I'll use my Duraludon But Henry says, "Wait a moment, Raihan. It's no use." Raihan says, "No use." Henry shows his Pokédex entry, saying, "Look at this." The entry on Oranguru says, "With a wave of its fan made from leaves of its own fur, Oranguru skillfully gives instructions to other Pokemon." Henry says, "So if we can steal its fan, it won't be able to control any other Pokemon. But if we screw up, they'll get controlled anyway." But then Henry notices something, saying, "Look, Raihan, Yamper's facing off with Oranguru, but in exchange, Lancelot is being controlled." Raihan says, "I get it. So it can only control one Pokemon. Then that makes things easy. All of them can go after Oranguru's fan at once." So as Oranguru turns its attention to Duraludon, it's hard to tell what's going on here, because Oranguru seems to be looking at Duraludon, but it's manages to hypnotize Sanakanda. Sanakanda goes after Duraludon, but even Oranguru seems to be a bit confused by everything that's going on, especially once Girder, Sir Fetch, and Thwacky go after it. But Oranguru then turns its mind control towards Yamper, and Yamper shocks everyone, but that seems to include Oranguru. Jeez. Raihan says, "What's going on?" Henry says, "It looked like Oranguru is failing to control the Pokemon it wants to." And I think Sonia is still being held by Oranguru. As Henry says, "Sonia, what did you do to provoke that Oranguru? Oh, it has Tool. Does that mean Henry's gonna catch it? Because Sonia says, I accidentally stepped on its fan while I was out getting tea. Then some of the fan's fur got tangled in my boot buckle, and it got mad while I was struggling to get it out. Henry says, I see. He then goes to Raihan saying, and whispers something. Raihan says, what? Henry says, please. So as the fight continues on, Henry sneaks around back, grabs onto Oranguru's arm to keep it from waving its fan. Raihan says, now everyone hold Oranguru down! And all the Pokemon do just that. Henry then examines Oranguru's fan saying, just like I thought, the fan's fur is tangled. If I brush it and neaten it up, Oranguru sees his fan and is shocked. Henry says, there, it's not perfect, but you should be able to use it now. Oranguru fawns over his fan, and Sonia says, phew, thank goodness. Thanks, Henry, and you too, Raihan. Raihan looks at the happy Oranguru saying, so the fan wasn't working right because Sonia damaged it when she stepped on it. Sonia gives a bow, saying, sorry for not being more careful, Oranguru. And she ushers off Raihan and Henry, saying, all right, let's head back to the vault. Yeah, and suddenly Oranguru hypnotizes Girder and has him redirect Henry back to Oranguru. Oranguru points to his fan and then points to himself. Sonia says, what's up, Henry? Henry turns to Sonia with a smile, saying, I guess it appreciates my repairs on its fan. It looks like it's trying to get me to let it join my team. I did think that I'd like to work more on that fan of yours. And so he catches Oranguru. Oh, I gotta admit, I did not expect to see him catch Oranguru, but since he's someone who focuses on Pokemon with tools, which, man, I never really thought about. That's like one of those few things that, I don't know if the Pokemon anime ever even focused on that, the idea of Pokemon who use tools. That's actually kind of interesting. And Oranguru isn't my cup of tea, but that's actually kind of nice. As Henry catches it, he says, I'm happy to have you. From now on, I'll call you Bannon. Okay, what's the English name? Fanguru. Fanguru. Oh, boy. Okay, and they head back into the vault. And Sonia says, all right, we've dilly-dallied enough, I'd say. This way. Henry turns around, saying, looks like she's found something big. Sonia says, I have. Here, take a look. At the Duuz-Diz-Din, there was only one statue of one hero, but here there are depictions of two heroes as they come upon a room with several tapestries strung about, which is kind of like, oh, I wouldn't be a secret. See, I wonder that even in the game, because it's just like, look, it's in the vault, I get it, but why is it a big mystery? It's just like, do you guys not have normal historians in your land? Then again, it's kind of like even here in America, where certain things are known, but then you actually kind of investigate, it's just kind of like, oh no, a lot of the things we know about are kind of wrong. Also, I gotta say, because Sonia is of age, the way they draw her in this panel, she looks like she ain't wearing no pants. I just gotta say, I get it. The pants are very tight on her, but she looks like she ain't wearing no pants in this panel. I'm just saying. Alright, and the final chapter is titled Glittering, the Tapestry in the Vault, Chapter 13. Alright, so Sonia and Henry are looking at the tapestries, with Henry saying, so, Sonia, Sonia says, Regional Foundation mythology tapestries. They tell the story of the creation of the kingdom in Galar. From left to right, the two youths watching a wishing star. A disaster occurs to the two bewildered youths. The youths looking on at the sword and shield that stopped the disaster. Henry says, they're similar. Sonia questions this, as Henry says, the sword and shield that the statue of the hero at the Duuz-Diz-Din carried. And then, the rusted sword and rusted shield I saw in the slumbering world, too. Raihan says, don't all swords and shields have similar shape? Sonia notes Raihan's presence, but Henry then says, they have some similar characteristics. Of particular note are the top edges of the shield, which sharply jut up. Then the sword's hilt has a similar shape, yes. It's not entirely unlike that. The three are all the same. Unlikely that the three are all the same. So you ponder, saying, if your speculations are right, Henry, then whether there are one or two heroes. Another similarity would be how the disaster from the sky was rid of using the sword and shield. This disaster from the sky is also seen in the geoglyphs in Tuffield. In other words, the second tapestry depicts the darkest day. Harry then questions, there's no giant transformed rampaging Pokemon on it, is there? Sonia says, there isn't. Looks like I'll need more clues to build up my hypothesis. Raihan then says, but there's still one thing I don't get, Henry. Henry questions, what's that? Raihan questions, what are you taking the gym challenge for? Sonia says, I'd like to hear too. Henry says, truth be told, I'm thinking of going back to the slumbering world and fighting the sword and shield Pokemon. Raihan is shocked, and Sonia seems delighted. Raihan questions, are you serious? No one ever told me about that info. Sonia questions, is it okay to tell him? And he says, sure. Well, Raihan, and I guess he explains, and Raihan says, I see now. If you and your team are strong enough to bring those Pokemon out, you'll get another chance to come into contact with the rusted sword and rusted shield. Is that what you're thinking? Well then, I'll let you practice with the mighty Raihan anytime. Hey, wait, no. Maybe my Pokemon strength will be enough to bring him out. Want to go to the slumbering world right now? But Henry says, no, thank you. Sonia tells Raihan, Henry's right. It might be best not to go. Those two might only appear to people truly seeking after the rusted sword and rusted shield. Raihan kind of dismisses it, saying, so they're strictly business only, huh? But I get it. Wait, what do you think about this? The sword and shield are the same thing. The Pokemon could have something to do with the disaster too. Sonia's shocked, saying, oh my gosh, you're right. Henry says, well, there's one more thing that I have in mind. Sonia is excited, saying, tell me. Henry says, if there was specifically painted on the tapestry, could the wishing stars and the disaster somehow be connected? Sonia excitedly glomps onto Henry and Raihan's arms, saying, that's a good point. If the disaster is the darkest day, and the giant transformed raging Pokemon are Dynamax, then the wishing stars can't be irrelevant either. I'm so lucky to have such good assistants. Raihan questions, who are you calling assistants? But then Henry seems to realize something. Sonia questions, what's the matter, Assistant Henry? Really? Henry says, well, you see, Chairman Rose has been having Bade collect a massive amount of witching stars. Raihan questions, you mean Bade, who the chairman endorsed? Sonia questions, what about it? Henry says, if witching stars and the disaster are connected, I just thought that it could bring the disaster about again. Raihan then says, oi, he could be trying to bring about the disaster for the purposes of his own ambitions. Damn, Raihan. Raihan says, I don't trust corpos. I wasn't expecting that one. So you gives him a pat, saying, oh, what are you saying, Assistant Raihan? But Raihan's still serious, saying, these sorts of incidents have happened in other regions time and time again. There are Pokemon with enough power to destroy the world, even here in Galar. Oh, shit. I gotta say, Raihan's kind of genre savvy here, because he's just like, listen, enough things have happened in other regions for me to know that there might be someone up to something somewhere. Henry kind of takes this in and then tells it to them. Well, you should ask Chairman Rose the next time we see him. Are you collecting wishing stars in order to bring about the disaster? Is your plan to destroy the Galar region? So Raihan pause and then start laughing. Raihan says, ask him, you gotta. So he says, ask him why I'm there so you see with you so I can see his reaction. Oh, and as they exit the vault, Casey shows up saying, hey, Henry, look, it's Galar. I love how Raihan's plugging his ears. Henry questions, it was in a swamp in the Mudstoke outskirts, right? How'd it get there from the slumbering world? Casey says, I don't know, but now I'm sure. I'm sure I'll get Mega and Giga and Terra and Penta back there. I know I will. A hand reaches out and grabs Casey's shoulder, with the voice saying, that's exactly right. A deeply heartfelt wish is more important. It's Opal. I think she appears that way in the game too. She just appears out of friggin' nowhere. Naturally, Casey screams all bloody murder. Her having a bit of a heart attack. But being that close in the firing range of Casey's voice has knocked Opal for a loop as well, with Henry going to check on her saying, "Are you all right, ma'am?" Raihan, also reeling from Casey's voice, says, "Huh? Isn't that Opal?" Henry, helping Opal up, says, "You know her, Raihan." Raihan explains she's Balloonia's, I think that's how you say that, gym leader, with Casey saying, "Gym leader? I thought you were some nasty bitch." Casey, you can't say that to her face. That's Henry's face right there. It's just like, look, even if you think it, and I understand where you're coming from, don't say that to her face. Though Opal takes it in stride, saying, "Oh, that's the highest compliment you could give me." Opal is such a fun old lady. I've always loved Opal. She's one of the more fun gym leaders out there, just full stop. I love her style. I love her personality. Old gal has it going on. Raihan then questions, "Your challenger is the one after this, so the fifth, right? Why are you here?" Opal explains, "I wanted to see Leon's endorsed challengers with my own two eyes. I won't be able to see them if they lose and go home after the fourth challenge, right?" She then pauses and then immediately starts shouting at the two, "Now you just thought I'm going to win and defeat this old lady, didn't you?" And Casey responds, "You said it before I could even think it." Casey, I swear to God. Opal then sighs, saying, "How boring. Well, Silent Boy is waiting for you up ahead, so hurry up, go see him." Casey questions, "Silent Boy?" I know who it is. Oh, so he's the gym leader here. Oh, does that mean we're not going to see Bade? Or Bay? Bay. Not Bade, Bay. Oh, that's a little bit of a bummer. I was kind of wondering how they were going to do who runs the Stow-on-Side gym. Opal explains, Stow-on-Side's gym leader, Alistair. And Raihan then adds, he's the gym leader with the map. Oh, Opal is traveling with them. Okay. Oh, they've already arrived. All right. Which is funny because the trip to Stow-on-Side, that's one of the more notable trips that I actually remember from the games. Like, it takes a hot minute to get on to Stow-on-Side. So I'm surprised that they just kind of yada-yadied over the trip and didn't have anything happen in the meantime. But then again, I guess if you're traveling by car, you kind of just whoop right through it. And we're not even exploring the routes in this game too much. I mean, in this adaptation. That is kind of throwing me. But then again, it's either that, have a lot of the extra stuff that doesn't really add too much to the overall plot, or get to the, main crux. Because, I mean, it is all about Casey trying to find her Pokemon. So unless she's actively trying to find her Pokemon, we'd have no real reason for detours. We see Opal reclining in the RV, and as they arrive, she says, "Oh, we've made it to Stow-on-Side. Do your best, you two." Henry, who's all smiles, questions, "What are you going to do, Opal?" Opal says, "I think I'll stick around and get a lift to Belliona this way. It's much easier to stretch out here than in a taxi." That is true. Marvin, as he comes to the driver's side window, he says with a worried expression, "We're off, Professor." And then you got the professor mumbling to herself, "The Glimwood tangle on the way to Belliona is full of corners, bumps, and chicane. S-shaped bends designed to slow down vehicles. So it'll be quite the fun experience." Oh, God. I do actually like that this was their way of making sure that the professor was, like, regularly involved with the storyline. Because, honestly, she really is not a prominent figure in the story as a whole. And it's not even like, Magnolia appears that much even here as well. But she appears a heck of a lot more than even in the games, because she's a minor character. It's mostly Sonia who has a bigger role overall. But I do kind of like that they kept Magnolia included and gave her this interesting little habit when it comes to driving. And she just takes off like a mad woman. Oh my God. I mean, I guess Opal's cool with it, considering that she wanted to just ride along. Man, that's a whole side story in and of itself. Opal and Magnolia on a trip cross country. It's like that one movie with the two ladies in the car and stuff. I forget what it's called. But we pick up at the Stownside Stadium, where we have the announcer. I can't remember if the announcer was given a name. No, just announcer. He says, "Everyone listening in, thank you for waiting. It'll be a fierce battle today. Let's fan the flames. We'll be presenting the 4th Gym Challenge here, live at Stownside Stadium. Bring your attention to the champion Leon-endorsed challenger. With uniform number 808, his last 3 matches were all won in stunning comebacks. Henry Sword." And then a voice calls out. The voice says, Malister. Yeah, that's about right. Henry thinks to himself, he certainly is silent and masked. Henry gives a bit of a bow, saying, "I'm Henry. It's nice to meet you." The announcer says, "The gym leader Alistair is a ghost-type expert. How will the 2 contestants battle it out in this 3-on-3 winner-take-all game?" Watching from the stands, Casey shouts, "He looks about the same height as you, Marvin." Marvin then notes, maybe we're the same age. Actually, how old is Alistair? He does seem a bit on the younger side. Is it? No? Nah. See, that's the thing. The games have kind of taken to not really giving out ages anymore, or not solidly confirming anything nowadays. Maybe it's precaution for people like me. Alistair readies his Pokeball, saying, "Here I go." He brings out a Yan mask. As the announcer says, "Coming out of the dark ball, Yan mask has been unmasked." And then she sticks her tongue out, saying, "I really wouldn't have said it." Marvin notes, that's a Yan mask's regional form. Casey brings up her Pokedex entry on Yanmask, which reads, "Yanmask, the spirit Pokemon, Galarian form. It said that this Pokemon was formed when an ancient clay tablet was drawn to a vengeful spirit." Marvin notes, so it's not just a ghost type. Casey says, right, it's a ground and ghost type. Henry brings out his Surfetched. And as Surfetched lunges, Yanmask manages to grab Surfetched's lance. Casey notes, its gear got snatched. Alistair commands Yanmask to use Brutal Swing, and it does just that, bringing Surfetched down hard. Man, Henry gets serious, saying, we'll have to break loose by brute force then. Store light, and he commands Surfetched to use Solar Blade, which manages to deliver quite the hit. Oh, yeah, okay, I didn't even realize Yanmask was immediately taken out. As the announcer says, Yanmask is unable to battle. Alistair starts to hear voices in his head. And then he says to himself, I don't know if it's the voices of the crowd or voices in his head. And he says, I want to hide. I want to go home, but next, Cursola. Yeah, not Corsola, Cursola. Henry calls out, Lancelot, quick! Now Casey's looking at the Pokedex entry on Cursola, but suddenly Casey shouts, Henry, don't do it! From the stands. It just echoes throughout the whole entire stadium. Even the announcer saying, oh, what was that? Boom burst? Yeah, like from a sound Pokemon. A sound attack from a Pokemon. Marvin shushes Casey, saying, giving advice in the middle of the match isn't good. And Casey does, I was just meaning to say it to myself. Marvin then asks, what's wrong with it? And Casey, hussing herself, points to the stadium where we see that Surfetched is frozen solid. Alistair then says, didn't you know? It said that if you touch a Cursola, you'll be stiff as a stone. Henry scratches his head, thinking to himself, I wasn't interested in Cursola because it doesn't have any gear, but saying that won't do me any good. I guess that's what I get for coming to challenge without having done my homework. I'd better get act together. Switch out, Fanguru! And he brings out his Oranguru. The announcer says, Challenger Henry's second up is Oranguru. According to our sources, it's newly caught from Hemlock and is a fresh member of his team. Cursola immediately dives for Oranguru. Henry calling out, get away from it! Oranguru manages to dive back, but Cursola seems to be readying something. But Oranguru notices. Cursola fires off its horn spikes, or I guess. It's like, is that what it's covered in, like a ghostly thing, or is it just like shed skin? Okay, Cursola's branches. Okay, that's an ectoplasmic body, and then its core is in the center. Okay, interesting. So it fires off its branches, but Oranguru manages to dodge. As Oranguru looks to Henry, Henry thinks to himself, it's useless to try keeping a distance. I want to end this fast with a super effective dark type move, but the only move like that Fanguru has is foul play, and it has to physically touch the opponent. We've got to aim for the part of the body that's not a ghost. Fanguru! And he sends in Oranguru. Oranguru manages to dive under Cursola's attack, and aiming at the main underbody and using its fan, Oranguru uses foul play, immediately downing Cursola. Alistair then says, My very last one. How lonely, how sad, how scary. And he brings out Gengar, which means, get in here, Gengar. Alright, Gengar. Love Gengar. And I especially love, as Alistair says, swallow everything in darkness. Gigantamax. And brings out a Gigantamax Gengar. Giant purple people eater. Oh, and then it immediately attacks. Alistair tells Henry, G-Max Terror. It's like Shadow Tag. Now you can escape. I won't let you. As Oranguru is stuck in place. But Henry says, fine by me. I have no plans to switch out anyway. As he Dynamaxes Oranguru, Henry says, Fanguru and I will cut our way through. But Alistair, getting serious, says, we'll see about that. See, Alistair can be pretty serious when he wants to be. And we are bum rushing through these gym leaders. But I've actually kind of not minded that much, because I do love the gym leaders. Any adaptation, I love the gym leaders, because they're always the most fun personalities. You know, going from Kabu to Raihan to Opal to Alistair. It's just like, yes, I love these characters. Like, the personalities of the gym leaders are some of the best parts of any game. And I especially love it when you actually get to see them outside of their gyms and just doing things. Even if it is just chatting or messing with the main characters. You know, Raihan being a part of the investigation of the vault, and, you know, Kabu coming and, you know, just like in the games, seeing off the contestants, because it's just like, you've gone past one of the first hard hurdles. And then the little introduction to Opal, who's just a fun old lady. And even just this little moment with Alistair. There's just a lot of personality to these characters. You know, Casey has managed to get one of her Pokemon back, which is great. You know, this adaptation has been probably one of the most fun, especially because of the introduction. Sometimes I tend to be a little bit bored when we're at the beginning of an adaptation, but once it gets into full swing and we start really getting into the plot, seeing more Pokemon and characters and stuff like that, I'm just like, yeah, now it's really starting to get going. But I've actually really liked this one from the very beginning. This one has been super solid from the start, mostly because it's not just a ton of exposition being dumped all of a sudden about the mechanics of the game or anything like that. That was probably one of the things that just got me the most when it came to X and Y, just the huge amount of information that was needed for Mega Evolution. Just, there was so much information on Mega Evolution there. But I feel like with the Gigantamax and Dynamax, it's like, no, it's pretty simple explanation. You get a bit of it, and then you just kind of go from there. But I also love how they managed to work in the Pokedex entries, too. They always manage to work in those Pokedex entries. And that's always a great time. You know, honestly, I also love, and this has gone across all the adaptations, each adaptation manages to really make me like certain Pokemon that I sometimes overlook. Like, even with Oranguru, I'm just like, oh, you know, this is a pretty cool Pokemon, all things considered. It's not my go-to, but, you know, seeing them in action, it's just like, I kind of have a little bit more respect for this Pokemon. So, it's always a fun time. But, hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And thank you so much for watching. So until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next one. So then take care. Bye-bye.